Take two. You've seen the title of the video. You know what this is going to be about. But I briefly want to describe the type of individual that I imagine watching this video. And I imagine I imagine it because I've been this person many times. Let's say someone gets a surge of motivation. They decide that they want to change and they don't know how. They start looking for answers. They come across videos like these. And welcome, if that's you. The other type of person that I imagine watching this video is somebody who is maybe already having a bit of success and is looking for fuel to add to the fire. That's sort of how I think of it. A lot of times in the past, it's actually once I've really started this process already that I end up looking for videos like this, just because, you know, you're looking for that little extra push to keep you going. So if that's you too, then I think that's great, and keep it up. You're probably doing great if you're watching this video and that's your situation. So not that this video is going to be all that. I don't think it will be. And I'll just go ahead and say here that I don't think I am the perfect person to be making this video. But I have personally benefited a lot from videos like this one, where the person just talks straight to the camera, and I really feel like I can connect to what the other person's saying, and that's what I'm going to attempt to do with this video. So there may be some awkwardness, there might be some weirdnesses. I've been in take one I was scratching my nose a lot. But I think that I have a real opportunity to maybe help some people out there. Maybe not very many, but even if just one person got a benefit from this video, honestly, that would mean something to me. Because like I said, I've been the person on the other end, watching videos just like this one. So really, in this video, I want to focus on the mental battle of weight loss, and the reason why I approach it from that perspective. To me, I feel like a lot of the information that's out there focuses on what to do. You know, how often should I be going to the gym? What types of exercises should I be doing? What kinds of foods should I be eating? And to me, that really is not the core of the issue for the average person who's extremely overweight. And to me, just to clarify, you know, to me, the highest my BMI ever was around 50, I think. The heaviest that I ever was when I was 17 years old, and I stepped on the scale at the doctor's office weighing 375. Almost on the dot. I think it was like exactly 375 or something. And I'm about, between 5'10", 5'11". And I was pretty much at that height back then as well. So that's pretty big. 375 at 5'10", 5'11". I'm not sure exactly. On Tinder, I'm 6 foot, right? Not really. I don't use that app. But, yeah. I definitely, I was the type of person where, at my high school, I think I went to a high school where, I think the graduating classes were about 400 people, something like that. And I easily would have been either number 1 or number 2 of the heaviest people in my class, I would say. So this is definitely, I was in like the 99th percentile, I think. Maybe not these days, I don't know. But this was definitely a serious problem for me. And, I always considered this to be my fatal flaw, really. And I feel like by the way, haven't lost all the weight yet. When I'm making this video, I still weigh, right now I weigh a little under 275. So compared to basically about 7 years ago, because I'm 24 now, when I was 17, you know, I've lost 100 pounds relative to, that was my peak. But I still have a long way to go. The reason I'm making this video now and not later is because, and who knows, maybe I'll wait to upload this until I have lost the weight or something, I don't know, but I've considered doing that, like making this portion of the video and then later on recording you know, more stuff at my final weight, and then it would be like an evidence of, you know, here's me saying that it's gonna work, and then here's it actually working. So who knows, maybe I'll do that, or if I just post this video alone, then maybe I'll do a follow-up video, and it'll be the same sort of deal. But anyways, you know, this video can only be from my perspective, and like I said, from the fact that I was in this position and struggled for years not knowing what to do. All right, so I'm gonna dive in some more serious ground rules, perhaps. I have notes here I'm looking at in case, I don't know if I said that already. I might have said it. I know I said it in take one, but I forget if I said it in this one. But I want to give some ground rules because I know not everybody is going to be on board with what I'm about to say, especially in the world we live in these days. A lot of people don't see being really overweight as a problem anymore. There's a lot of voices out there trying to make it seem like, you know, you can be healthy and happy at any size, and I personally think that's a lie. I honestly believe all the people who are saying that, they are either not overweight themselves and they don't really know what they're talking about, or it's someone who is overweight and they're in denial about it. How many times have we seen that? Told you that I was gonna get real here. I can't pull any punches with this video because it would be a disservice to the people who legitimately want to change and are willing to do whatever it takes. And if that's you, then I really think you're going to get something out of what I have to say here. But not everyone wants to lose weight, and that's okay with me, you know. It's not that I feel like everybody has to do what works for me, or everyone has to live the type of lifestyle that I want to live. But if you're watching this video, I have a feeling that you do not want to be in this situation anymore. And whether or not you're ready to admit it, I think if you are seriously overweight, you know how much it is a horrible thing. And by the way, not having to do with how anyone else treats you or how attractive you are or anything. I mean, just the... Oh, here we go again. Losing the camera. I just gotta keep rolling, guys. I stopped take one because of that. I'm just gonna keep going. The framing's probably gonna be different, but oh well. Let me try and thread this through here. Maybe it won't do that anymore. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna keep it rolling. To me, videos like this have to be real, and sometimes they'll include stuff like that. But what was I saying? Okay, I'm trying to read through my notes here. Not everyone wants to lose weight. Yeah. If you're happy being overweight, then okay, cool. But I think you're probably in denial about how much it is currently a problem and how much as you age it is going to get to be more and more of a problem. And you know, I personally know and have seen well, like my grandfather died earlier this year from late stage diabetes. and he wasn't even that overweight, to be honest. Um, I mean, relatively speaking, I wouldn't say his problem was nearly to the extent of mine, but he still maybe was like 50 pounds overweight or something, and was diabetic because he had a terrible diet. And so to me, that's the perspective I'm coming from. I have family members who have struggled with this all their life, just like I have, and a lot of them are a lot farther along in that than me, um, and they suffer because of it. And I think they would even tell you that they wouldn't wish someone else to be in that situation, and if they could get out of it themselves, they would. I think anyone would. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, right? If someone could wave a magic wand and make this problem go away, would you not say, yeah, absolutely? Um, of course. It's if anyone could just have the exact body they wanted to, we all would, right? So to me, and the reason I make such a focus on this is that, it really doesn't help you to try and sidestep the problem. It's just unhelpful. But like I said, I think probably the people who are watching this video, and especially the ones who are still watching, they're on board with that. So moving on. Okay, I guess I can get into here now that we're on the same page. We know it's gonna get real here. The truth hurts. If you want to lose weight, the truth is you are going to have to take 100% accountability of your life, and that's it. Like, I mean, period. From basically this day on type of thing. If you really are committed to solving this problem, or any problem, really, I should have mentioned that earlier. I honestly think what I'm going to talk about really is just the process of change and the mental battle that it takes to change. That's really what I'm about to describe here. And taking 100% accountability of your life is really the first step to that. You have to, you got to forget about, oh, I'm overweight because this person did this to me. My parents did this. They didn't feed me the right things. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the case for me, but I'm just saying, you can blame the environment that you grew up in. You can blame the choices of other people. You can blame people who have hurt you. But fundamentally, that's not going to change your situation. And when you close your eyes at night and you're trying to fall asleep, you're going to be the only one in there, and I've spent many sleepless nights, wishing things were different, but it's just not. It's at some point, whether or not it feels, it feels good to blame other people. It does, but at a certain point, you have to stop worrying about your feelings so much and just take responsibility for the situation you're in. That's the truth. And honestly, if you're not willing to do that, if you're holding on to a grudge against someone else, or you think that it's somebody else's fault, you're not going to be able to fix this situation. I'm telling you, you're not. I guess these are some truths that I wrote down, sort of. So number one was 100% accountability. You got to just stop making excuses. If you make a mistake, or if you do something lazy, if you if you indulge when you've told yourself you're not going to, okay, that's fine. You can forgive yourself and do better. I'm not saying you need to become your own drill sergeant. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, admit to yourself when you do slip up, and be honest about it. Don't try and make an excuse, and move on. So that's step one. Take 100% accountability. Okay. Number two, the thing I wrote down: the world owes you nothing. So realize that the world is not fair, and the world owes you nothing. This sort of gets back to accountability. I guess this is sort of a different way of saying the same thing, but if you want your life to be good, if you want your life to be a certain way, you're gonna have to be the one to do it. And if you're expecting somebody else to make this happen for you, good luck with that. And the other thing I wrote here: life's not fair. Okay. There are a lot of people who can eat things that I can't eat. They can. There's people who have ice cream every single night before bed, and they weigh 100 pounds less than I do right now. Is that fair? I don't know. Does it matter? Does it change my situation? No, it doesn't. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the type of person who will never ever indulge again, or never have ice cream again. I haven't had ice cream in some time, and not that that was one of my that's not one of my favorite sweet treats personally, but my point being, just because there's somebody else, and these people, by the way, might be living with you. They might be your family members. This might be your spouse. This might be your child. They might be able to eat a way that you can't. And they might be able to sit on the couch and never exercise, and maybe they won't lose, or maybe they won't gain weight doing that. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why. You can blame your genetics too, which again gets back to blaming other people in a way, because you're really, if you're blaming your genetics, you're just in a way shoving the blame onto your ancestors. But it's like, all of our ancestors had to go many days at a time without food, and a lot of them starved to death. So if you want to blame our ancestors or your genetics for being a certain way, whatever. I think honestly most people are in a situation of most people cannot just eat whatever they want and never ever gain weight. And don't think that what I'm saying here is that is the case for other people, because it's not. It will eventually catch up to them. Their body will develop insulin resistance if they are constantly eating sugar. And you have to understand that just because you don't see it on the outside doesn't mean that those foods aren't still unhealthy for that other person. But I think you get my point. You kind of have to accept the fact that you might be in your own boat here to an extent. There's a lot of other people in the world out there. I mean, I would count myself as one of them, who, because the way I've treated my body in the past, I can no longer indulge the way that other people can and just expect to have no consequences. My body just doesn't respond the way other people's bodies do anymore. And it is what it is. I might talk about this more later, but it also sort of brings up the fact that a lot of this problem is, maybe you went through a period of time where you were gaining a lot of weight, and then that stopped, but you still just are carrying that weight around with you. And that has been the case a lot of my life. I've actually, or a lot of my adult life, I've actually maintained weight. I had said earlier, I stepped on a doctor's scale at age 17, weighed 375 pounds. And that was the heaviest I ever weighed. Almost immediately after that specific doctor's visit, I had gone to the doctor because I had migraines like all the time, because my blood pressure was so high. And after that, I was kind of like, okay, I need to take this seriously. And I lost, I guess, basically about 40 pounds, because I ended up around 335. And once I got down to 335, my migraines went away, and I basically, once that impetus for weight loss was gone, I basically, I didn't gain all the weight back or anything, but I basically just stayed there at 335, and I was at that weight for a lot of my adult life. In the meantime, there's been basically a few periods of attempts at weight loss where my weight went down, but basically since I was 17, 18, I weighed around 335 until this most recent attempt that has been successful so far. But what I was saying is, I a lot of my weight I gained in middle school and high school during periods of time where I was sort of depressed, or whatever was going on. I just was indulging a lot. Not necessarily saying that, oh, boo-hoo, I was depressed and so I gained all this weight. I mean, maybe that was true to an extent. I'm laughing at myself because it's just ridiculous. You got to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit, okay? You got to be able to, realize I made a lot of mistakes in the past, and, you kind of have to, there's a big part of this process that has to do with forgiveness. And for a lot of us, we have to forgive our past selves for the fact that we let the problem get this bad in the first place. And that takes time. It's really easy to get mad at yourself and to lose faith in yourself and to lose hope. And I've been in that spot before. But, you can change. And you don't have to keep carrying this around. All right. kind of lost my place here. Went off the script. But I think that was an important point to make. I'm realizing now the order of my notes here. Not totally perfect, but all right. I think when I talked about accountability, talked about life isn't fair. Now let me tell you about maybe some more. Now we got the ground rule type stuff out of the way. Let me tell you a bit more nuts and bolts of how I would approach the mental problem. And first would be understanding the scale of that problem. No pun intended. I think, there may be people watching this video, I guess, who are only 30 pounds overweight. I don't know, maybe even 10 pounds. I don't know. To me, I'm almost thinking of someone who, probably someone BMI over 35 or 40, someone we have a serious problem with this, and this is debilitating. That's really going to be the focus of how to tackle that level of problem, because really mentally, I think what gets a lot of people down in the weight loss is they see all of it at once, and they just don't understand how they can go from the spot that they're at now to, okay, I'm living, I'm living the Gold's Gym lifestyle and eating great, and I'm very active and all this stuff. They just, it's really hard to imagine going from a place where you're very inactive, eating pretty much whatever you want, indulging a lot. Just imagining the amount of change that has to take place is immense. But in a way, I think it goes to show that, really this is a lot like, addiction, major other addictions in life. And that's what I found to be the case. I found myself over the years, I'd be listening to podcasts and hear a story of somebody who was trying to kick heroin, and I would find myself relating to that story. Or, uh, I mean, it could be anything, gambling, pornography, any of these addictions that, they get wrapped up into an emotional issue, and then you end up giving over control of your life to this problem. To me, the I think the key to understanding a lot of this is just understanding why why did you end up in this situation. um why do other people seem, they gain a little bit of weight, they notice they gained weight, and it freaks them out. Why? And I go, why didn't that happen to me? Why did I not change immediately once, I had gained a bit of weight? Why did I let it get so bad? I think, that it sort of almost goes to show, I almost had to work through the problem backwards and say, okay, I am in this situation, which means that I'm the type of person who ends up in this type of situation. It's almost, it's a way to step outside of yourself and go, just imagine that the events of your life happen to somebody, some random person, and then imagine how that person would have reacted to your life. I've done that thought experiment several times when doing this, and I just imagine other people gaining weight, other people having these same issues, and it not being as much of a challenge for them. And so, at a certain point, you kind of have to go, okay, what is it? What is it about me? Why am I, you know, why me? That basically is it. And at a certain point, you kind of have to let your guard down and accept the fact that you might be completely wrong about how to solve this problem. And maybe the reason why you got to this point is because there is really something that you're missing about it. And I know it's going to be hard, but that really, as far as the mental battle goes, this really is what has to happen. You have to be willing to admit that you are wrong. And if you're not willing to do that, then, you can go on being right, but, you can go on feeling like you're right and not be able to change your problem. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people would rather die than be wrong. If you're willing to admit that you're wrong about how to fix this problem, then I think, if you have that humility, you can be successful. I know my notes are kind of out of order here, guys. I'm mostly trying to go from the heart, so I'm trying not to read these too much. And but let me just figure this out here. I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm saying, like, you have to be kind of willing to admit that you're wrong. Still trust your intuition. Still question the information that other people give you. But you kind of have to. I would counsel you to look over your life and just, like I said, think about it happening to somebody else and going, okay, maybe I was wrong here. Maybe the decisions I've made have been, maybe this is really my fault. Type of thing. But really, I guess what we're getting to here, a lot of this is a mental change that has to occur where sorry, here, let me go. Okay. Why are you in this situation? What do you need to do about it? Okay, so I know I'm jumping all over the place, good grief. All right, here's what I believe. For the average person, the heart of the problem is probably one of these three things. Either number one, you don't care enough about the problem to fix it currently, which means you're apathetic. Number two, you don't believe it's a problem, which we kind of talked about earlier. So that's probably not you, but that would be number two, is that you're in denial. Or number three is that you have truly lost control of your life, which means you have addiction. And I think, as I've been talking about, you go through this process, you're thinking, okay, why me? Why am I in this situation? Those really are the only three reasons why you could be in this situation. Either you don't care, you don't think it's a problem, or you just can't stop. And I think, a lot of people don't like the word addiction. They don't want to think that they are addicted to food or addicted to being lazy, which is sort of I don't know if you can be addicted to not doing something. But some people, that's basically what it is, though. Some people just never, ever want to exercise or put forth effort. I find for myself, a lot of times that just goes in hand with being overweight in the first place. I think what I've found is that as I lose weight naturally, I want to be more active without even trying. But people are set in a certain lifestyle and they don't want to change it. So to me, it's like, well, if we've already agreed that this is a problem, this is a big problem, and if you're still watching this video, then I'm sure you believe it is a big problem. Let me plug in my iPad here. It's about to die with my notes on it. Probably would help me if it did die. I wouldn't keep trying to figure out what I wrote down. But like I was saying, if you're still watching this video, I doubt that you're apathetic. I doubt that it's that you don't care. It's probably that you've lost control of the situation. That was what I found myself in. So from that perspective, you kind of have to ask yourself, well, how do people get addicted to things in the first place? Why do people develop serious life addictions? And for me, I'm going to be honest, you want to learn about this? Real serious. You want to learn about addiction? There's a guy named Mark Leda. What is his channel called? Gosh, it's gonna kill me that I can't think of the name of his channel. Oh my gosh, I've watched so many of his videos. But look up Mark Leda on YouTube anyway. Laita. He has all these interviews with people. A lot of them are from Skid Row or people who are homeless, drug addicted. Gosh, it is killing me. Like, here, I have my iPad. I can just look them up. I forget that I'm holding one of these devices in my hand. Soft White Underbelly is the name of his channel. Whew, oh my goodness. Dude, if you want to learn about addiction, you watch some of those videos. It is harrowing. And what's sad is that a lot of the stories are the same. A lot of the people who end up addicted to things, it's because they have serious trauma in their life. And it's sad. I think the more perspective I've gained on this, the more I've realized that most people who are in this situation are really in a lot of pain. And in a lot of ways, it's not fair that being overweight is one of the ways in which your pain starts manifesting on the outside. But I honestly think that that is the main reason that most people end up in this situation. I think it's I think otherwise why don't you respect yourself enough to take care of yourself? I know that's a hard question to ask. I wrote down a few hard questions to ask yourself here. You know, I ask these to myself. Why have I chosen time and time again to take the easy way out? Why haven't I valued my health and well-being enough to take care of myself? Why have I chosen to reinforce and repeat behaviors that I know are self-destructive? Well, for me, I had to apply Occam's razor, basically. The most obvious reasons that are out there that cause other people to be addicts, I had to admit to myself. Okay, maybe I would, maybe I've been traumatized, or maybe there's some issue that I'm not dealing with. It really became a process of self-discovery for me at a certain point. And I don't want to give you the impression that I've had a really hard life, because I haven't. But to be honest, I actually think that makes it more confusing, because I grew up in an upper middle class family. My dad always had a good job, and we always were well provided for, well taken care of. I went to pretty decent schools. I had a pretty good life on paper by most people's definition. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, well, if this deep emotional pain causes addiction, like, where's my pain coming from? Because the source of it wasn't obvious to me. And if you're in that situation, now maybe a lot of you, when I start talking about emotional pain, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or you know exactly the issue in your life that caused this, is what I'm trying to say. But if you're like me, when I thought, okay, what deep emotional problem caused this, I couldn't think of something specific. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand why the story of my life would lead someone to a pathway of addiction that I found myself in. And honestly, I feel like, I don't want to get into all the depths of my problems, but it really took me having to admit that these things did bother me. Maybe something that I didn't perceive to be that big of a deal, or something that by other people's standards wouldn't be very traumatic, or something that by other people's standards wouldn't seem like it was emotionally difficult. I had to admit to myself that, those things did bother me. And I'm talking about, it can be stuff when you're a kid happens, and not that I think like childhood trauma is the end all be all of what I'm talking about here, but, and I don't want to, like I said, I hate even saying that in the context of myself, because I don't feel like I'd really been traumatized that much. But nevertheless, there were things in my childhood that were confusing to me. There were certain situations where I felt betrayed by my friends or people that I knew. And, it doesn't take much, I guess, is my point. You don't have to have been the victim of something really awful to still react in a way that is unhealthy when you're a child. I'm going out on a limb here, guys. So forgive me if what I'm saying is not totally accurate or correct. But I really feel like sometimes when you're a kid, like I said, things are just confusing, or you just don't have all the facts. That's the other thing. When you're a kid, the amount of information, your perspective is so limited, um, that it's really easy for these little confusing things to magnify into a really big doubt later in life. And I do think whether or not you have some huge trauma in your life that needs to be dealt with, and that might be the case for you, but even if that's not the case, I would encourage you to think back on your entire life, including your childhood, like I said before, as if it happened to somebody else, and then imagining what is in your mind some other random person's default response to this situation. So I'll give you like a dumb example, right? Let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. Try to imagine, okay, how would I currently react in this situation versus how would the average person react to that? You know, for example, right? You might, and I'm the type of person. If someone cuts me off, I'm not gonna get all like mad and start honking my horn and yell. I'll probably just slow down and let it go, right? But sometimes you have to, if you imagine this with a more serious situation, sometimes you go, okay, I didn't think that really traumatized me because I just let it go. Just like I would in traffic, I would just let it go. But someone else might have reacted to that situation. Maybe I need to give that a bit more thought. Who knows? I don't know if that will be the problem for other people, but for me, I really did have to admit how little that it took for me to feel hurt, you know. And it's been all sorts of little things that I've had to try and make peace with, little slights, little I don't want to downplay it too much. I mean, I know that life's hard for everyone. Everyone has things I'm sure they're thinking of as I've been saying this. Really, the crux of it for me, and I wrote this sentence down because I thought it was sort of profound. I realized at a certain point, it's not that I could handle anything, it's just that my coping mechanisms were working. And I know, if you're watching this video, I know you can probably relate to that. Because a lot of times things in life aren't working, things aren't good, but we get through it because we have a coping mechanism, we have some way of dealing with it. And the problem with those coping mechanisms is that they do work for a while, but the problem is that, number one, most things that you use to cope are external, and your tolerance to them builds over time. So that's true. I mean, that's true with substances, like chemicals that you put in your body, but it's also true just with behaviors, you know. Like if your vice is television, if you you're gonna get more and more. You're gonna want more and more shows to watch. If you're constantly trying to escape, it's never gonna be enough. I guess is what I'm getting at. You're always gonna look for more and more and more of that escape. Bottom line, at some point you have to stop trying to look for a way out and deal with this pain. Deal with whatever it is that caused you to end up in this situation. You have to deal with it before you can get better. All right, look through my notes here. All right, I think the next main topic I want to address, and this is sort of getting back to life's not fair or whatever. It doesn't really have to do with that. just generally a principle, I guess, that I think if you want to lose weight, if you apply this principle, it's just every part of your life is going to make more sense. And that is the law of equivalent exchange. Um, this does sort of tie into what I was saying about having something external, you know. If you're requiring something external to keep you going, if you have a coping mechanism that you're using to get through something, that has a cost, right? And we can't just ignore that these costs are real. That's the thing. Like, you can't talk your way out of this stuff. It's the dopamine drip in your brain will run out. You know, it's you know, whether you like it or not, if you're using something like this to feel good, then eventually it's gonna stop working. That's just the way it is, or it's going to cost you everything. Those are the only two options, because the law of equivalent exchange. It's like if you give up something, you have to, or if you want something, right, you have to give up something of equal value for that. And I truly believe that works. It works in life for a lot of reasons, but I mean, if you just think about the way your mind and your hormones control things in your body, the law of equivalent exchange makes sense just based on that, because your body is a homeostatic mechanism, meaning it's trying to maintain balance and equilibrium all the time. The goal of any process in the body is to maintain equilibrium. So if you're constantly pushing equilibrium in a certain direction, there's just no way around. Your body has to compensate for that in the other direction, right? What goes up must come down. It's just the way it is. I know everyone doesn't believe in the law of equivalent exchange or think that that principle applies universally. But to me, because, like I said, the body is homeostatic. So when you get a reward, for example, you know, if you haven't done anything to earn that, your body is going to have an intuitive sense of that. I'm getting into the mind-body connection, because I think to really understand what's going on, you have to understand these things are linked. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do this to my body, but then in my brain, I'm going to think this way. No. What you do to your body has a direct influence on how you feel and how you think. So, and why is that the case? Well, because you know when you've done something good or when you've done something bad, right? You know it. And no one has to tell you. If you sit there and eat a gallon of ice cream, no one has to tell you to feel guilty about it or ashamed. You're going to feel that anyway, you know? And again, I just believe that's because of the law of equivalent exchange. Your body is trying to maintain balance. And you can keep trying to fight against that if you want to, but it's just like it just is the way it is, man. I really don't see a way to talk yourself out of this, you know? So, what do we actually do about it? Well, dude, you gotta stop being in denial about things. You have to just take things as they are. Understand that if you want to be happy in life, that's going to take effort. And if you're not willing to put effort into your life, then it's going to slowly get worse. Because, well, you're going to age, right? Things take the toll on their body over time. If if you're a 7-year-old and you eat 10 donuts, it's not going to hurt your body that much. But if you're like 60 years old and you do the same thing, it's going to hurt your body more. Why? because over time your body loses the ability to be quite as flexible as it used to be, right? These hormonal mechanisms like insulin, which controls your blood sugar, uh, it's like anything else in your body. It's going to slow down and stop working as well over time. So any lifestyle you have that's destructive in any way, it's going to compound over time. It's just how time works, right? And it happens to everybody. The effects of your day-to-day choices, it's not like they add together. It's like they multiply. That's at least what I find to be the case. Um, you know, let me see. I think that's pretty much all I had to say about the law of equivalent exchange. Let me just say this also. I mentioned that, the body, I believe when you do certain things to your body, there's a mental consequence for it. Let me just describe that a bit more. The thing is, like I said, I think your body has an intuitive sense, and I kind of am talking about your body as if it's separate from your brain. I think personally, I believe it's helpful to see them as being connected but separate in terms of at least what their goals are, right? Because your body is doing things that you don't intend for it to do. It will just naturally, like I was saying, it naturally tries to compensate on its own. So in a sense, I kind of think of the body as having a brain of its own or a mind of its own. And when you do certain things to your body, it's almost as if your body knows that you're not taking care of it, and you feel worse because of that. And why that is, I don't know. I wish I wish that your emotional state wasn't maybe tied as much to your body, but it is. And I've just found that impossible to deny. When I make certain choices, I feel worse, and there's no way for me to get out of that. But the thing is, unfortunately, the body has to do something, right? And when you are making these choices, you generate these bad feelings inside. What happens when those bad feelings have nowhere to go and you have no outlet for that? Which you probably don't, right? If you're using food and bad lifestyle choices as a coping mechanism, you probably don't have a good way to deal with this emotional pain or these issues, right? So you're causing yourself. So let's say you're already struggling, you're reaching for a coping mechanism, and then by reaching for that coping mechanism, it's like you're hurting yourself a little bit. What happens over time as you slowly, what happens over time as you do damage to yourself is that you stop being able to trust yourself. And your mind, I believe that the body, like I said, sort of has a mind of its own, and it has an intuitive sense that it can no longer trust the decisions you're making. Because it knows, in a way, it's like the body knows right from wrong on its own, and it knows that you're not doing the right thing. And in my experience, this creates delusion in the mind. Because it's like you're taking these two parts of yourself and they're getting farther and farther apart, right? There's part of you that's thinking, oh, I need to be healthy. And then there's part of you that's thinking, I need to reach for this coping mechanism and do what it takes to get through my situation, whatever. But you have sort of the part of you that's trying to endure and the part of you that's trying to cope. the more and more you do this, the farther and farther those things get apart from each other. And I don't believe, when you have this like split personality, your mind just can't contain that forever. And eventually what happens is that you stop being able to actually see reality for what it is. And that's where, in my opinion, delusion comes from in regards to being overweight. And the bizarre thing is that I think even when people are otherwise psychologically healthy, or at least relatively speaking, free of mental illness, even when that's the case, which a lot of times it isn't, even when that's the case, people start to be in denial about, for example, how much they're eating. You start feeling like, this is how much I need. This is the type of food that I need. This is how often that I need to eat to feel okay. And you become separated from the reality of those situations. You stop, because your body is no longer, in some sense, you've lost control of the ship, right? I think your body stops trusting you, and you start getting these wild cravings for things because your body isn't trusting you to give it the nutrition that it needs. The less and less that your body trusts you, the more and more it's going to try to control you. Why? Because you're not controlling yourself, and it knows that. Now, how the body knows all this stuff, and whether you believe that the body has this much intelligence sort of itself, people could interpret this different ways, or just say that it's different chemical processes. I don't know. This is just sort of the way I see it. But I've seen it to be the case in my own life that I couldn't keep straight how much I'd eaten. I couldn't keep straight when the last time I had eaten was. It seemed as if my own mind was trying to conceal these things from me. That's how it felt. And, to me, really the only pathway out of this is, you have to stop doing things that make you more in denial about the situation. You have to stop doing, like I was saying, those things that are hurting you, that are making your body stop trusting you. You have to start building up a trust within yourself of self-control and giving your body what it needs. And what I've found to be the case is that once you bring this mind-body issue into sync, you can kind of get your mind and body working on the same page. You start giving your body the things it needs, you will stop getting these wild cravings. In my experience, this is what happens. Once you start taking better care of yourself, your body starts adapting to that, and it will respond. But it can't do that if you aren't being a good steward of it. And fundamentally, it sort of goes back to what I said right at the beginning. You have to take 100% accountability. You have to stop making excuses. Stop thinking that, oh, I can give myself a little cheat here and it's going to be fine. Honestly, your body remembers that. Your body remembers those times where you're giving up, you're giving in to those little temptations. And every time you do that, you lose a little bit of faith in yourself. That really is the problem. Now, I don't want to give people the impression that I don't think you can ever reward yourself again. But I think if you reward yourself, it needs to be for a good reason, right? You can't just reward yourself all the time because you think you're awesome and you deserve rewards. And you can't reward yourself all the time because you feel like you need a reward to get through the other difficult things in your life. That's just not going to work long term. It's just not. So honestly, I think that really is the crux of the issue. I feel like that's pretty much everything I wanted to say, and I'm pretty happy with how I was able to say that. So let me just go over. I think that's the meat of the mental battle, and what I think you need to do to overcome that mental battle. Um, so following on that, I there are some things, maybe just some little more advices. Anyway, I'll just start going through them. They have less to do with maybe the mental battle, but more to do with some more practical steps. Um, Number one, I would give you the advice that the scale is not always your friend when you're losing weight. Um, if you go through the possibilities that can happen, um, let's say for this example, you have started a new training plan, diet plan, whatever. You've been doing this about 2.5 weeks, and you have not weighed yourself yet since you started this program. So let's say like you weighed yourself at the start, and then it's been 2.5 weeks. So, okay, possibility A, you've gained weight. Possibility B, you've basically maintained your weight. Or possibility C, you've lost weight. Okay, if you've gained weight, what's going to happen when you weigh yourself is that you're going to get really discouraged because you gained weight. And you're going to think, what the heck? I've been putting in a ton of effort and I gained weight. So I might as well just stop. Okay, so you looked at the scale, you gained weight, you stopped. Okay, option B is that you basically maintained your weight. Well, you're pretty much going to be in the same boat as if you had gained weight, maybe not quite as bad, but if you're putting effort in and you're not seeing any progress whatsoever, that's still going to discourage you, still probably going to make it harder to keep going. Okay, option C is that you actually lose weight. Now, in this example that I gave, right? If you're doing everything you should be doing, then you should be losing weight, right? Your body is not going to overcome the laws of physics if you are making healthier choices. Your body's going to respond to that, right? Unless you have some endocrine issue or some other health problem that is making it impossible for your body to regulate the way it's supposed to. But if you're like 99% of people pretty much, if you start making healthier choices, you're going to lose weight. So you know that already in your mind when you step on the scale, right? It's been 2.5 weeks, been doing really good, been making all my good choices. What's gonna happen is that either you've lost more weight than you thought. It sort of ends up being, again, it's like you lost more than you thought, or you lost less than you thought. The chances that you're going to lose exactly how much weight you thought you were going to lose is pretty low. But if that was the case, then that is like the perfect sliver where weighing yourself on the scale actually helps you, is if you lost as much weight as you thought you were going to lose. Then your thumbs up, you can make, you can just keep doing what you're doing, and it probably will not affect your motivation too much. What can happen in any of these cases where you've lost weight is that you see a little bit of progress and you get that dopamine hit of, ooh, I was good. I made progress. And it's going to make you want to cheat. It's going to make you want to reward yourself. It's going to want to make you give yourself a pat on the back. And that's honestly not what you need. If you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing and it's working, you should just keep doing that. And you should wait as absolutely long as possible to give yourself cheat meals or breaks as you can. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but it's like, don't give yourself more reasons to step outside your plan. If it's working, just keep doing it. So honestly, I guess the other possibility, just real quick, is that you lose weight, but not quite as much as you wanted to. That will still discourage you. So again, I think it's bad. So basically, enumerating all the possible outcomes of what can happen when you step on a scale, most of the time it's actually detrimental to you when you're early on in your journey. So my advice to you would be pick something that works, start finding a routine, find healthier foods that you like, all the good stuff, and don't look at the scale for like 3 months. That's my advice. And be prepared for disappointment when you do. Or also mentally prepare yourself to not see it as a finish line, not see it as going, oh, I can, I can take a break now. I can take it easy because I've been successful and now I know what I'm doing. That's the thing too. It's really easy to get an ego about it and think, oh, this is simple. Weight loss is easy, and I can take some breaks and still be fine. All these things, I'm only telling you this because I've been through this conversation in my own head so many times, and I can just tell you, most of the time looking at the scale doesn't help you, period. Moving on. The other thing I want to say as a bit of encouragement, sort of going along with what I was saying about, if you've been in a routine, things are working. Let's say for whatever reason you do end up giving up. What's really easy, and almost the first thing that I used to think is, oh, well, that was such a waste. I did those. I did my 2.5 weeks. I was doing awesome. I had all my diet was doing great. My workout plan was good. I looked at the scale. I had lost so much weight. I gave myself a cheat meal and then I gained back 5 pounds. And then I got really discouraged and I gave up. How many times have we all done that before, by the way? So many times. I've done it. I should have said raise your hand if you've done that before. That's what I meant to say anyway. But what I want to tell you is that just because maybe, let's say you had this 2 weeks of progress and you go right back to where you were before and you think, oh, that was all for nothing and I wasted that effort. The thing is, no, you didn't. All of that effort that you put in was not wasted because you're proving to yourself that you can do it. Even for just a few days at a time, right? Let's say you're only being good for a day. You have one day that's really good, where your diet was great and you had a great run or a great session with the weights or whatever, or had a good walk in the park, and had good diet that day. That's a win, right? So just because maybe you return back to your old ways, you're building that confidence in yourself that you can change. And to me, I would say a huge turning point in my weight loss was when I started looking at every single positive thing I did. It was like the negative choices were never a minus. I only looked at, or I only focused at least on, okay, I'm making positive changes, good habits right now, type of thing. And as long as you do that, over time it does build. And even if you failed a lot of times, you recognize, even though you failed a lot of times, that also means that you started trying a lot of times. And that means that you have that inside of you that you want to try, you want to keep going. And you just have to hold on to that. You have to hold on to your wins. You have to hold on to the positive progress you made, and don't beat yourself up when you backslide, you know? Because like I said, you're going to build that feeling inside of you that you can do it. You can spend time doing hard things. You can eat different kinds of foods, all this stuff. It builds and builds and builds. If you just keep trying over time, it does build. So really, in that sense, it's a case of like, it's funny. I was reminded the Shia LaBeouf "Just Do It" video. One of the quotes he says in that video is, "If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up." But in a way, I actually think that's backwards. It's more like, you should really get used to starting over. You should start over every single day. You should start over. And I think if you honestly can take that approach of every day's a new day, and I'm going to start over today and do the best I can, that's all you can do. What's in the past is in the past. What happens tomorrow is in the future, right? All you can worry about is the choices you are going to make today and the choices you're going to make next. That's basically all you can do. The other thing I'll say, a big part of this process is a learning curve. And I think when you do fail sometimes, and I know in the past when I've failed, you see it as like a moral loss. You see it as like, I failed because I wasn't good enough. I failed because I wasn't able to, I couldn't muster up enough effort inside myself. I couldn't do it. I don't know why, but I just couldn't. You see that as like a moral failure, right? But it's really not. It's a big part of weight loss is just learning how to do it and learning what works. And I think the other thing about that is as you go along, that might change. What worked for you to lose the first 20 pounds might not work for the next 20 pounds. And so your system or your approach, how you do it, might always be changing, at least somewhat, right? But that's how life is. Throughout the whole rest of your life, things are going to change. Your routine is not just going to stay one way. If you just find one single way to lose weight, and that's the only, you're like, I can only make it work like this. Don't limit yourself like that. You can find, tons of different exercises, tons of different routines, tons of different foods, styles of food. Don't think that just because, I did it this way and it worked, that's the only way you can do it. It's going to be a learning process. You're going to have to adapt. And probably the farther you get along, the more sacrifices you're going to have to be willing to make. The good thing is that your ability to make those sacrifices is also going to increase. So really, I mean, this whole process is about making yourself more competent and more able to deal with life. And that's just going to take time, trying to figure out how to solve this problem while taking care of everything else in your life. It's just going to take time, and you're going to have to learn how to do it. That's my point. There might be certain knowledge that you need that you don't currently have. You might have to search for that. You might have to spend time doing research. You might have to spend time learning about the human body, about science, listening to lectures by doctors, all this stuff that I've done that have helped me. Not that I'm like Mr. Scholar or anything, but you do have to be willing to put in the time and dedicate some mental energy to it. But don't just assume that because you failed, it was like that you weren't good enough. You might just not understand or have figured out a way to do it in a way that's going to work for you. Or maybe something about your situation changed and now you have to refigure it out, right? You know, maybe you switch jobs, maybe you maybe you met someone who likes to eat certain foods or go certain places, and that changes, your whole system, right? It just is what it is. Life's gonna come flying at you. I think you get my point. Well, I hit the end of my notes here. This has been a really long video, and I know there were a few times there I didn't quite know how to connect the different ideas to each other. But it is sort of a circular process. It is sort of, where you start is going to be different for each person. And, some of this information might come very naturally to you and some of it might not. And, but I hope that this video was helpful. The other thing I want to do is, if you look in the description, I am planning on making a playlist of videos that I personally love that have to do with this subject, have to do with weight loss, or I don't know, maybe psychology, behavior, whatever different types of videos. I'm not exactly sure which ones I'm going to be adding to that. There's a few I have in mind in particular. Certain weight loss strategies and stuff that have been helpful to me. But fundamentally, I think, you got to heal what's on the inside first. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I feel like there are a lot of people who maybe understand this at some level, but it's hard to really put into words how to mentally approach fixing this. So I hope that some of what I said was useful in that. I will, by the way, my channel is small enough that I pretty much can read every comment. I might not read it very quickly. It might be like 6 months before I check them and read them again. But I do read comments every once in a while. And so anyways, if you have something you wanted to say, just know that I probably will read it. And if you've watched long enough in this video for me to tell that to you, then, thank you. And I'll read your message. So, good luck to you. Don't lose heart. This process is difficult, and for me, it's taken years to get it right. And it might take years more for me to get to a point where it's just easy and takes no effort. Right now, it still takes some effort for me, but I'm making really good progress, and I cannot tell you how much the other parts of my life have improved as I have developed confidence in myself again. Like I said, over time, when you do damage to your body, it destroys your feelings of self-confidence and your ability to trust yourself. And you don't have to stay in that place, I guess is what I'm saying. So, all right, closing it out there. Good luck.